Hey everybody, Jameson here with several new projects, I guess, in the end. I just felt like doing some pattern bars and some fun things that I can make jewelry out of. I've got a show coming up in a few weeks, and I think jewelry will sell well. And so what I've done is these are old kiln shelves that I had sliced up. I didn't own a tile saw, but I had somebody doing some kitchen work, tile work for me, and I had an old shelf, and I asked them if they would slice it up for me, and I gave them the dimensions, and so they've cut it up, and now I've got a bunch of little bars. And so I've got some papyrus paper down on the kiln shelf. I have lined up my dams here, my kiln shelf that's cut up into dams, and then I've lined each one with some 1/4-inch fiber paper, and these are just a variety of sizes. I've got different glass here. I've got some I've got some cane from Lori Moreno when she sold it as part of a Black Friday, kind of seconds or curious sale. So I've got some of that I'm going to put in some of these other buckets pockets. I've got some glass from Tabitha, some confetti, and some other odds and ends. So I'm just gonna I've got kind of some rainbow colors that I'm gonna stack and fire so that I can cut it on the tile saw. So anyway, I'm going to just start to fill these up and show you what they look like when they're ready. All right, here you go. So I put a piece of periwinkle glass down, which looks like it was the color of this. These were they're straws actually, so they're hollow, that came in a confetti mix that I bought from Tabitha, and so that was a pleasant surprise. I decided to keep those instead of crushing them up. And so I put a base piece down and then arranged all those. I had a little bit of spare space at the end, so I just threw those on. These are all chopped up Murrini or cane from Lori Moreno at Wilderness Glass. This was part of her sale that she had. This was now 2 years ago, I think, a Black Friday sale. So these are all just curious. As you see, I kind of subdivided because I had chopped some stuff up, but then I had a little extra space. So I just subdivided that with some more kiln paper, fiber paper. And so that's what that is. This is that rainbow stack that's in there. And then I have one more spot left. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with that. All right, in a YouTube short that I did not too long ago, I took a bunch of Tabitha's confetti and I just threw it in to do a full fuse and see what would happen with it. And I've decided now to cut this into 1-inch strips and set it inside my molds or inside those dams, because I think then I can get a real thick slab of it, and I think it would look really cool cut on a cross section. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut this up roughly into 1-inch strips. All right, and there's that final pattern bar, just stacked up there all willy-nilly with chunks and everything. I don't know how that's gonna turn out, but I'll do a long, good bubble squeeze and hopefully we'll get something that looks pretty cool. All right, here's another attempt. These are nuggets from Tabitha, Tabitha's Glass Emporium. I don't know if Tabitha has nuggets anymore. I got these a couple of months ago. These were called gold orange nuggets, but I just like the striations in those. I think those are cool. These were called dream nuggets. Looks like they're mostly French vanilla and kind of a charcoal or black, gray kind of color, some white maybe in there. This is Tonka's Dream Mix. We all know Tonka loves reactions. I do too. It looks like there's gonna be some cool ones in here. So Tonka, those are beautiful colors. So these are, I think they're just gonna, puddle up and be kind of cool. Again, Tabitha sold them as nuggets. And I just think that they're gonna be an easy way to attach a bail and make some cool jewelry. So let's see what those look like. All right, since I know I'm gonna have the saw out and I'm gonna be making a mess, I might as well, have enough stuff to cut up to really make it worth my while. And so I wanted to play, I haven't done any of these yet. I wanna play with some of these dam molds. These are from Creative Paradise, GM 79 and GM 80. This is kind of a triangle shaped mold, and these are this one's kind of a half moon, half circle. And so I just want to play with them a little bit. I'm going to fill these things up. And a couple of weeks ago, I had some Tabitha confetti that I just laid out and fired just to kind of see what would happen. And I've got a whole bunch of her confetti here, and I decided to fill at least one of these molds with the confetti. So I think I'm going to do the round one. And this piece I've already fired, so I'm just going to throw that in. And then I'm going to put in, this is a whole bunch of, she's got a lot of hollows. So I'm just going to lay these in here. They're going to shrink down quite a bit, but I think so I might not have enough volume in here. I may have to add more later and do a second firing, but we'll see. So I'll try to pick some of the narrower pieces. I'm just going to fill this sucker up and see what happens when it fires. Okay, for this triangle shaped one, I've decided I'm just going to use a bunch of scrap French vanilla. I've got some strips here and this piece, and I'm just going to layer them in here. French vanilla reacts to itself and creates this really cool pattern, and so I just want to play and see what happens. So I'm only going to put French vanilla in here. I'm going to kind of lay it in stacks, and we'll just see what happens when it comes out. Okay, here are some of these pieces. So sorry for the background noise. It's a Saturday morning in spring in Texas and lots of lawnmowers going on, but these are some of the pieces that came out. I took them out. Now, because I dammed them and used fiber paper, they got pretty spiky on the edges, which I expected, and that's fine. I had another piece going in for a fire polish, so I just threw these in as well. Now, for me, that was about 1,400 for 10 minutes. And they're still a little spiky on the edges, but that's frankly okay, because they're not as bad as I thought they would be, and I'm going to be cold working these and doing all kinds of work. So it just, goodness, I'm so sorry that got so loud. It took care of, what I thought would be the most dangerous spikes, and the rest I'll just handle. So now I'm going to get my wet saw set up and get started. Okay, before I show you the saw in action, I do need to say a few things about it because I know you're going to ask me. So this is the 7-inch tabletop wet saw from the Rigid brand, which is sold exclusively at Home Depot. Here's a shot of their website. I like this saw. It does not spray a lot of water. It's relatively lightweight and easy to move around. I like the guide that's on it, and the price is right, and it comes with a lifetime warranty. That said, you have to get your own special blade for using glass, for glass use, and that is in my Amazon store. There are other retailers that sell it. You're welcome to look elsewhere. I've just put it in my Amazon store to make it easy for you. The link for that is in the video notes. I've had some minor issues with this saw, and I don't know if it's the unit that I have, so I'm going back with the company to see if I can get this taken care of through the warranty. So I can't 100% endorse the saw, although I will say I do like using it, and the blade is working quite well for me as well. All right, I'm outside, so I'm not going to have the best audio quality. I really don't have a really good setup out here either, but this is my wet saw. Got my glass blade in there. There's water down in my reservoir, and I'm going to start cutting. So this pattern bar is relatively thick, and I think it's going to look cool when I slice it. So I'm just going to try to do thin slices, and then I'll decide what to do with it. Do I want to turn it into jewelry or use it in a different piece? So we're going to start with this guy.
Now, if you're not familiar with a sintered diamond blade for glass and a saw like this, you might look at this and think this looks pretty dangerous. But this blade actually can't cut your skin. It's actually not even really a blade. It's really more of a sanding disc, if you will. And so what's happening is it's grinding away that glass. But and I wouldn't necessarily just go, touching it all the time with your fingers. But should you get your finger there, it actually can't cut you. But the two pattern bars are pretty cool, these molds. So now this is the one, sorry, I'm trying to give you a look here. It's relatively shallow. It's just, it was a little half circle. It's got a little bit of zip on there still. But it didn't fill up as much as I thought, and I knew I'd have volume issues because I was using a lot of hollows. But we'll cut it up and kind of see what it looks like and what I can do with those elements. And this is the one that I used, the French vanilla. Check that out. I think it's going to look even cooler when I cut it. So that one I filled up with glass. I got a nice triangle shape on this. So we're going to cut this up and see what it looks like and then decide what to do with it from there. All right, here's the slab that I did with the rainbow glass. And so it's got a little spiky on the top, so I'm being careful with how I touch it. I think the purple got thin because I didn't have full volume. And then you see the reaction that happened between the spring green and can't remember what blue color I used there, but that's okay, it's still kind of cool. So what I'm going to do is just slice this up into bars, and then I think a lot of it will become jewelry, but let's just start cutting and see what happens. This sped up video really makes it look like it cuts like butter, but in reality, this is a slow process. You can't force it too much. You gotta take your time, let the grinding wheel do its thing, and be patient. So I was actually out there for a long time.
All right, let's just take a look at some of this now. So I cut everything up. I thought my camera was running the whole time. Clearly it did not. So you get to see a little bit of what I did, but not all of it. So these pieces are pretty cool. Now I cut some thinner to be used potentially for jewelry, but only a few. And then this one's got a hole in it that kind of runs through, or a bubble. But I decided to actually cut several of these thicker that I just thought would be fun to kind of do in a bigger piece. So more to come on those. I don't know. I'll go ahead and do a few of them for jewelry that are a little bit thinner, but these thicker, heavier ones I just thought could look cool in a piece. So I do like the way that turned out, though. I like that mold. That triangle mold is fun, and so I'm going to play with those in some future project. The semicircle, half circle mold, as I told you, I didn't quite get a full it's the word I'm looking for. I didn't get a full semicircle, but I did get some neat pieces. Now, I don't know what to do with these. I don't think I'm going to do any as jewelry. Let me just wet this down a little bit. So I think they kind of look like brains. Isn't that funny? So when you put two of these halves together, it kind of looks like a brain or something. So anyway, I don't know. I cut them all up. I might flatten them. It could look cool flattened, then look used as a floral piece, as petals. So I don't know what I'll do with those, but kind of cool the way they turned out. And these pieces, this is also that awesome Tabitha confetti that I've now fired a couple of different times. I cut several of them thick that I might use in another piece, and then I did cut some that are thinner that I could use potentially for jewelry. So let's see. So there's what that looks like. So I'm gonna fire polish that and attach a bail, and I think it looks kind of cool. So that is those pattern bars. I also did the rainbow pattern bar, and I did a couple that were really super thick chunks that I'm gonna fire down into puddles, but most of them I did as little pendants. So I did this size, something that's this size, so I'll have some little pendants. I'll just glue some bails to those. These nuggets that came from Tabitha all fired down quite nice. I think that Tonka Dream Mix is my favorite, so once again, well done there, Tonka. So I'm going to use those, attach a bail. Some of them are small enough and they are almost identical that could be used to make earrings, and so I'm just going to kind of sort them all through and decide what to do with those. But those are a lot of fun. Those are really cool. puddles there. So, and then the rest of these, this is actually from a former project that I had done a different video, but I just cut these up into nice square shapes and or rectangles. This one's cool. This one might be my favorite, and unfortunately I didn't do too much of it. So, I mean, just because it's my favorite doesn't mean it's gonna sell. But I did a couple of those like bar shapes. So I think those will look cool as jewelry as well. These things, everything will get fire polished. Oh, here's that. That was also confetti that I put on Egyptian blue. And now I cut those up into little pattern bars. So anyway, mostly all to become pendants. Hopefully I have a good sale. I'll snap a few photos of these for you and show you what they look like once they've been fire polished. Okay, so what I didn't show you, and I forgot to mention, is that after I did them on the tile saw, I also then took them to my flat lap and just cleaned up the edges a little bit. And then I decided to protect against any devitrification, since these have been kind of worked quite a bit. I have this ancient bottle of super spray, and as you know, this can kind of help with devitrification. I painted that on these pieces before I fired them, and then I fired them at 1400, I believe. For just 5 minutes. And then I have a problem. So some of these pieces, let's see if I can find, well, these orange ones, orange and blue, all turned out nice and shiny, this pink and such. But some of them, like some of the rainbow ones, look how that's kind of murky. And then particularly here, look how gross that looks. And so, and here, look how gross that is. So some of the pieces turned out nice, some of them did not. And I can almost detect that on some of them, it's because I maybe put too much super spray on. So like here, that's a nice, shiny, glossy rainbow piece. Those are, and then the ones right next to it are not. So, dang it. So you know me and you know my channel, and I like to share the good and the bad. So some of these are salvageable and I'm going to go ahead and use them. The others I'm going to take over here to my flat lap. You've seen me use this a million times, and I'm going to basically grind the front off of these, grind that grossness off, and then refire them. And as a matter of fact, I may even just try to not put anything on them and refire them again to fix this. I don't know, it's roughly half the batch that didn't turn out, so that's really frustrating. But at least I have a plan to solve it. So I've got some usable pieces out of here, and then the rest I'm gonna have to do some cold working and refire.
So I cut the audio on this because it's really annoying. And you know what else is annoying is this horrible camera work, a really bad camera angle. I was trying to avoid setting up a whole nother tripod. You've seen me use this before. So this is the slant cabber from High Tech Diamond Company. I love this thing. This is the 8-inch slant cabber. They have a 6-inch. I have the 8-inch here. Water fed, relatively self-contained. It comes with a guard from the manufacturer that I have taken off, and I've replaced it with this brush, which allows me to get bigger pieces in there than just even the 8-inch that this disc calls for. What you see me do here is I'm just grinding and kind of checking it out and making sure that it looks good. And this disc works fairly well for that. I can't remember. I think this is a 360 grit that I'm using on this thing. I am an affiliate of the company here. This is not a sponsored post necessarily, but there is a link in the video notes. If you're interested in this unit, if you've been looking at it for a while, I would really appreciate it if you use my link. It helps me keep videos like this free when I can get a little bit of a commission on things like that. And then the company was kind enough to also give me a 10% discount code that you can use on extra accessories like there's a pump system for the water that I like a lot. There's also, additional discs that you can buy. The 10% off does not work on the unit itself, and some other things. There are some exclusions. All of those details are in the video notes if you're interested. Thanks for supporting my free content.
Well, this made a lot of jewelry. So I've attached all of these bales to my pieces, and some people say, what do you use to attach bales? And for the longest time I was using E6000, but honestly I'm just loving this Gorilla maximum strength construction adhesive. It's kind of like a silicone, and so I found this on Amazon. It's in my Amazon store if you're interested in checking that out. And I don't know, I really like it. So what I was doing was just, you know, putting a spot on honestly a paper plate, just a big dab of it, and then I was using a toothpick to kind of apply it to the bale, and then glue it on there, and I think they're on there really strongly, so I'm liking that. So anyway, here's what some of them look like. These were not pieces as part of that video, so we'll take them off. But I used different bales. I have, you know, just some alloy, zinc alloy bales. These are kind of silver in color. I also had some that were gold, because I'm just not sure what people's preferences might be these days. And so I'm going to clean all of these up. I'm going to take some photos of them. And then I was also using my glass bales, which I also think gives it a really nice finished look. So, you know, I think the rainbow pieces turned out quite well. I also glued little earring bales, so these are going to become dangle earrings, and so I think those are fun. And I've done that on a lot of these things. On the nuggets here from Tabitha, again, this Tonka mix is awesome. I glued a couple of earring bales to those. On these pieces, I used a lot of my clear bales. So these are not fusible. These are borosilicate glass, and so, borosilicate glass. And so they're tougher. I think they're tougher. These have such a pretty finished look to them. And so I used those on a lot of these pieces where I thought the glass bale would complement it and the glass bale doesn't detract from it. So in this case, there's a bunch of clear space there. I'm not sure if you're seeing this. And if I had put a metal bale back there, you would see that. But with the clear, it just kind of disappears. And so I was happy to use the clear on those. Let's take a look at some of the other pieces, a little bit of show and tell. Here again, you know, you would see a metal bale through that. Now, I could also drill a hole, but I don't like drilling holes, and I think the glass is such a classy look. So in this case, with all of these, if I had used a metal bale, you would see that through here, and instead this kind of disappears, and what you're seeing is the beauty of the glass and not that bale. Here's how these turned out. I decided to hang these on the bias on an angle there. I think those look kind of cool. These pieces turned out really neat. Again, I used the glass bales for those. Now these glass bales vary in size, so you have to kind of, you know, take a look at what you get in terms of the mix and decide where to, you know, what. So these were a little bit different sizes. So I used a smaller one on the smaller piece and the bigger one on that one. On these, I just used, again, some alloy bales that I had handy. So anyway, hope this helps. I hope it inspires you with some ideas. Oh, I forgot. Here's the pattern bars from Tabitha. Those turned out kind of cool. I really like this one because this one had a little bit of a kind of pink in there. And so I thought those turned out well. Again, I decided to use the clear bales for those. So again, hope you enjoyed this. Hope you learned something. Hope it inspires you. And if you're not already following me on Facebook, make sure you do so, because we're having some good conversations over there. And it's also a place where you can share some of the things that you're making back with me. Take care, everybody. Catch you later. Bye-bye.